The Elder Scrolls is a pretty spooky franchise. Whether you're delving through dungeons or concocting ghastly potions, every corner is absolutely steeped in Halloween vibes. And Skyrim specifically is loaded to the brim. Now, personally, I prefer a little more color in my Halloween, but hey, it was the height of every video game being brown and boring, so what can you expect? The quests, on the other hand, are a treasure trove for Halloween fans. Hell, I had a hard time finding one that didn't fit this category, especially in the Daedric ones. House of Horrors, Waking Nightmare, The Taste of Death, A Night to Remember. The choices were practically endless, but fortunately for you, I've narrowed it down to just 5. So here are the 5 spookiest quests in Skyrim. Growing up, I was a huge fan of werewolves. Nothing was cooler than a great big burly wolf that could tuck you in at night, and Skyrim has a lot of quests with werewolves to pick from. Most of them are in the companions, and you would think I would pick one from there, especially since many of them are pretty spooky, but for me, Hircine's quest will always be more special, since it was my first experience with werewolves in the game, and the confirmation that they were in the game at all. After the excitement of that quest, I spent tens of hours trying to figure out how to become a werewolf myself, to the point of actually giving up, all the while ignoring the companions because I falsely assumed it was just another boring Fighters Guild questline and certainly nothing to do with werewolves at all. As a matter of fact, I didn't even try the companions until my friend finally told me that that's where the werewolves were, and as it turns out, it ended up being one of the better questlines in the whole game. Anyway, the quest I'm talking about is Ill Met by Moonlight, and to start, we need to head off to the backwoods land of Falkreath, home to the biggest graveyard in all of Skyrim. Huh. It's actually a lot bigger than I remember. But the graveyard is not our destination, thankfully. We want to head to the Falkreath dungeons, a place far more elaborate than literally anything else in the town. And it's here we find our quarry.
I'm sure you've heard of men who shift to beasts under the influence of the moons. I am one of them. A werewolf.
Oh my god, it's happening. It's happening. Oh my god, it's actually happening. Fuck man, that moment was so cool. This right here sets the stage for what is the most compositionally fantastic quest in all of Elder Scrolls history. From the moment that werewolf climbs out of his cage to the beautiful imagery before him standing before a blood-red moon, Bethesda has never cooked harder. The quest itself isn't that crazy. You just shoot a force ghost and then kill a few bandits, but it does feature the exceedingly rare chance for the player to make a choice, whether to aid the werewolf sending, gaining a new follower, or obey Hircine, killing him, and gaining a really ugly caress.
I can't stop you if that's what you want to do, but you spare me. I can be a powerful ally to you.
Player agency isn't a super common feature outside of Daggerfall and is even rarer among Daedric quests. So the fact that they give it to us here in the most beautiful of all moments is really something special. Unfortunately, being a werewolf in this game sucks and is nowhere near as enjoyable as Adventure Quest, which I suppose makes sense. Nothing is really as enjoyable as Adventure Quest.
We hunt together.
If you're a fan of the spooky, then Laid to Rest has it all. Ghosts, vampires, spiders, an angry mob, and the scariest thing of all, a woman who goes crazy because she doesn't have a man in her life. Although that one is terrifying for different reasons. The quest itself starts with you entering Morthal to find out that a local house has been burned to the ground. And the number one suspect is the man of the house himself, who just so happens to have shacked up with the town's seductress minutes after it happened. Fortunately, we don't really have to do any real detective work, however, as the ghost of the little girl who died there will tell us exactly who burned it down, as long as we play a game of hide and seek with her. One thing I do respect is that whoever designed this quest had the sense not to just put a quest marker telling you exactly where to find the girl during hide and seek. I know that's such a low bar, but it's a very Bethesda thing to have you play a game of hide and seek and just be like, there she is. As it turns out, the real culprit was the seductress herself and her vampire lesbian accomplice. Something I do find disappointing about this quest, however, is that another character, Phalion, says absolutely nothing about it, despite the fact he's even blamed for the house's burning when you first arrive. And also because he's supposed to be a vampire expert, who is the one who cures you of vampirism and claims that he would know a vampire on sight, and said vampire in question is literally his next door neighbor. Like, bro, are you completely blind? No, it's just a Bethesda game. What else do you expect?
Morthal is a troubled place. It's my duty to see it rest in peace.
Not all miscellaneous quests are boring. I mean, sure, most of them amount to nothing more than simple fetch quests, but every now and again you get an interesting gem that astounds you as to how it wasn't just a normal quest to begin with. Unfortunately, in order to get this quest, you have to do a boring fetch quest for a dumb loser. But first, we need to head back to Falkreath, which is inherently a spooky place on account of the graveyard. And the loser in question we're looking for is none other than the disgraced former Jarl, Dawnguard.
I was Jarl once, but I was encouraged to step down when I took sides with the Stormcloaks. It was an imperial plot, I tell you.
Okay, Grandpa, we'll just get you back to bed. Dawnguard wants you to steal a letter from the local blacksmith because he believes every conspiracy he's ever heard. And if you're like me, you immediately rejected doing this because fuck that guy.
Mind what you say.
But actually, you should do it because it leads to a far more important errand, which is that his ancient ancestor, a powerful vampire, has returned from the grave and is preparing to wreak havoc on Skyrim. No, I don't mean Harkon. I mean this guy. The quest itself is pretty straightforward. Just go to a dungeon and kill a guy. It's the dungeon itself, though, that makes it more interesting. High in the mountains on the border of Skyrim is an old fortress, the Bloodlet Throne. The inside isn't particularly massive, but it's far more interestingly designed than your average dungeon, especially one for a miscellaneous quest, even leading to its own little arena. And since Skyrim is lacking any official arena of its own, I suppose this will have to suffice. Oh yeah, and the quest is called Dark Ancestor.
My family thanks you.
Jarl Balgriff's kids really suck. They're snarky.
Another wanderer, here to lick my father's boots. Good job.
They're entitled.
Absurd that you can't cook good sweet rolls in the skeever hole of a city.
And worst of all, they talk to doors. Which I guess would be more concerning if the door didn't talk back.
You may think so.
And when it comes to the spooky season, nothing is more terrifying than children and doors. Which is why our next quest is the Whispering Door. But in order to start this quest, we need to first kill a dragon, because the quest relies on Jarl Balgriff trusting you. So it makes sense that attempting to do it before he has any idea who you are would only result in rejection. After that's done, we head to the Bannered Mare, where we hear some disturbing rumors about the Jarl's children.
Say the one's turning wicked, and the others have an ill-favored look to them.
I don't know, they already seemed pretty crap before. Has anything really changed? Alright, fine, I'll look into it. As it turns out though, there's actually some merit to this rumor, because the Jarl has a dark secret, hidden behind an ominous door. One that will speak to those with the mind to listen.
At last. I've been waiting for someone more fit to carry out my will.
You can't trick me, Door.
You, though, I expect will prove far more malleable.
Alright, fine, I'll do it. Now, I'm gonna be real with you. I may have misled you just a little bit, because the truth is, it isn't actually the door that's doing the talking, but rather the Daedric Prince of Whispers, Mephala. But you're probably asking yourself, if Mephala isn't a door, then what do they really look like? What's on the other side? It's a cupboard. For some reason, I really have no idea why they use this as a target for our conversation. After some more chatting and the murdering of the court wizard, we find ourselves in the possession of one of the cooler looking swords in the game, the Ebony Blade. Unfortunately though, it's only useful if you murder everybody who likes you, and since I'm a good person, I guess that's not happening. My only real gripe with the quest though is that we never actually get to fulfill our original objective, which was to help Jarl Balgriff resolve his problem with his kid. We can't even tell him that the kid was talking to a door at all. I feel like Balgriff would want to know that information. Ah well, apparently it's not my problem.
So, the disgusting pig sent you to bother me. One day, I'll tear his face apart so he can leave me alone.
Look, I didn't want to include any quests from major quest lines since they usually don't stand on their own, each of them leading into the other without a defined start or endpoint, but let's be real. The Dawnguard questline is quite literally just Halloween DLC all in one. It has vampires, gargoyles, elves, and betrayal. But to really ruin the premise of this video, I'm treating two quests as if they were one quest, because those quests are kind of hollow without the other. And the quest I'm talking about is the very first one of the DLC, Dawnguard, and its follow-up, Awakening. This questline really starts with a bang, getting attacked by crazed bloodsuckers desperate for human indoctrination, where you are then hence invited to join a mythical guild of vampire hunters, the Dawnguard. Or at least that's how it always started for me. On newer editions of Skyrim, vampires no longer attack settlements, which I think is a coward's move. And upon arriving at your destination, you are greeted with easily the coolest castle Bethesda has ever designed, and a character that seems so obviously foreshadowed to get fridged that I'm genuinely astonished Bethesda was able to hold back from that.
Hey, don't tell Isran I was afraid to meet him by myself. Not the best first impression for a new vampire hunter, I guess.
Right after that, though, we're sent off to another seemingly bleak dungeon, only to be introduced to one of the best characters in the whole game. Second to Ayla the Huntress, of course. And it's those moments that really set the stage for what will be an exhilarating adventure that offers at least some replayability, since you get to choose to stay with the Dawnguard or betray them for the amazing reward of the dumbest looking vampire design I've ever seen. Clearly somebody was watching a little too much Underworld when they made this one. But hey, I mean, it's not like I can blame them. We've all had that phase. Now, as exciting as Skyrim is, I have something even more exciting to tell you. Well, some of you will be excited. Others will be weirdly way too upset about it. But I've decided to finally reveal that I'm in fact transgender, and my pronouns are she, her. I wasn't planning on talking about this until my voice training was done, but in these dark times, when it feels like hatred is unending, it's important to remember we are still here and always will be. But I want to let you know I'll be changing my profile picture after 10 years to this cute one instead. Thank you for growing with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Goodbye.